It started with a letter. No name, no return address. Just a plain envelope wedged into the frame of Andrew's front door. Inside, a single sentence, written in scratchy black ink. Return what was never yours or it will be taken. Andrew stood motionless in his tiny kitchen, staring at the note as steam hissed from the kettle behind him. It had no context, no threat, no logic, and yet his skin crawled. Hollow Ridge was a dead-end street, literally and metaphorically, an old mining town where houses leaned like tired bones, and people kept curtains drawn all day. Andrew had inherited the house from an uncle he never met. Just showed up one day with a key in the mail and a property deed in a manila folder. It felt too easy, but Andrew was broke, jobless, and desperate. So he moved in. That was 6 weeks ago. Now the house didn't feel empty anymore. It wasn't the noises that could be rationalized. Old pipes, creaking floors, but it was the feeling that someone was in the walls, watching, waiting. Things moved slightly. Not much, just off. A picture frame tilted. A glass that wasn't where he left it. The hallway light turning on by itself, always between 3 and 4 a.m. Andrew tried to dismiss it until the dreams started. He saw a man with no eyes, not gouged out, just absent, as if the sockets were never formed. The man stood in the same corner of the dream every time, in the same hallway of Andrew's house, just breathing. Andrew couldn't speak, couldn't move, could only wake up with his jaw clenched and fingernails dug into his palms. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that when he woke, the hallway smelled like sulfur. He asked around. The neighbors were polite, but their politeness was a shield. One woman, an old nurse named Clara, whispered only one thing. No one ever stays in that house longer than a season. When he asked why, she just closed her door. Andrew decided to leave. He packed a bag, locked the door, walked down the driveway and froze. The road was gone. Not blocked. Gone. A wall of dense trees stood where the road used to be, as if the forest had swallowed it whole during the night. No GPS, no signal, nothing but static on the radio. He turned back toward the house. It was closer than it should have been, like it had followed him. Inside, the mirrors began to distort. His reflection lagged just for a second, but enough to notice. And once, in the reflection, he saw a second figure standing behind him. He spun around. Nothing, but the house was changing. Wooden boards shifted in the walls like vertebrae cracking. The attic door opened on its own and stayed open. He tried burning the letter. It didn't burn. The flames licked the paper, but the ink seemed to hiss and bleed deeper into the fibers. He buried it instead. But the next morning it was back on the kitchen counter. Same envelope, same ink, except now there was a new line underneath. Time's up. That night the dreams stopped, but the breathing started for real. Not in dreams, in the walls. Deep, slow, animal-like breathing. It moved from room to room. Sometimes it was behind the fridge, sometimes under the bed. Just once, he heard it right behind his ear. He found a trapdoor in the basement he'd never seen before. Under it, a small stone box. Inside, teeth. Human teeth. Dozens of them. Some cracked. Some blackened. Some gold. There was also a locket. Inside the locket, a photo of a young girl and a word scratched on the metal, "Mine." It clicked. The house wasn't haunted. It was possessed, not by a ghost, but by ownership, a dark entity that claimed anything not freely given. Andrew had taken the house, inherited something that wasn't his, and now it wanted balance. He tried to give it back, left the key in the hallway, slept in his car, but the next morning the key was in his pocket. The doors wouldn't open anymore. The windows wouldn't break. He was part of it now. On the seventh night, the house stopped breathing. The air was dead. Andrew stood in the living room, shaking. The walls were pulsing flesh-like. He whispered, "What do you want?" And the house whispered back, "Return what was never yours." He dropped to his knees, sobbing. "I don't know what that is." The front door opened slowly. Outside was no longer hollow ridge. It was just black, endless crawling black. A shadow stepped in through the threshold. It had no eyes. The story ends here, but the house remains. Sometimes on certain nights, people walking near the forest claim they hear breathing, and if they're close enough, they swear they see a mailbox standing alone in the trees, with a letter inside. No name, no return address, just one sentence: return what was never yours.